I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, Will. But before we do that, hello to all my Biconics wrestling nerd fandoms out there, and welcome to another edition of Los Chicos Gordos, your weekly WWE NXT review team here at the Biconics Wrestling YouTube channel. And we are here, myself and lovable Will here, to review NXT for Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. This is going to be a fun one. This was overall a pretty good show as we were talking off air, but there's a lot of questions that I have and, Will has, and we'll get into those. But before we get into it proper, I would like to say thank you to all of you for helping us reach our first milestone here. We have accumulated 100 of you, 100 subscribers. Heck yes. I know normally I should have did a separate video for it, but who cares? We're doing it now. So I just wanted to, yes, we're going to celebrate, but more importantly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. This is a passion project that we've all been working for. And within the last 6 months that we've been doing this, because this is only in its infancy, thank you so much for getting us there. And we hope you stick around, you love what we do, and to help us keep going and going and going for as long as this ride lasts. So, with the heartfelt gooey ooey stuff out of the way, let's jump into this week's episode proper. Once again, NXT likes to start this week off with the NXT Tag Team Championship match, where we see Los Lotharios challenging the family for the tag team belts. I gotta say, this match was fine. Like, I wasn't overly impressed with it. I didn't hate it either, but I was like, okay, I know the family's gonna retain. And this match is serving the purpose of what it needs to, continuing to have the family rack up some wins and holding on to those titles for who knows how long at this point. I also thought this was probably the shortest championship match that they've had within their 2 title reigns that we see them in NXT for the family. So I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a bummer. There was some fun stuff, but I was just like, okay, sure.
I mean, yeah, it was good. It wasn't, it was one of those. The book is better than the movie, and yeah, it was. I mean, the lead up to it was so much better than the actual outcome. Because we got Los Lotharios jumping the family in the parking lot and slamming them up against Jeeps, and it was like, I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna be on fire. I was like, yes, and yeah, they kind of started that way, but it kind of, for me, it just sort of like, oh, okay, that's what you're gonna do. Oh, okay, that's cool. Oh, it was good, but yeah. I was like, nah. The lead up was so much better than the actual match itself. But I will have to say this though, Tony D'Angelo was looking fine. And I don't know what it was, but
we're starting.
I mean, I've seen him wrestle before many times, but there was something about him in this one that I was just like, ooh, Tony D'Angelo. Why have I not noticed you like this before? I don't know what it was, but there was something. He was looking thick. That's what it was. He was looking thick in this match, and he doesn't normally look thick like that. And I was just like, wow, there's something. I don't know. He was looking fine AF in this match. It's like even outshined Umberto, who I think is fine, but Tony D'Angelo, he had my engine running in this one.
So now would be a good time if you haven't seen Los Chicos Gordos before. This is your first time joining for us. Across all of the review shows, we tend to blur the lines between, homoeroticism and whatnot. But I'm going to be completely honest. This won't be Los Chicos Gordos is probably the queerest review you are going to see here on the channel, given the fact that it's being hosted by a gay man and a bisexual man. So this is your warning now. We love the men's and women's here, and we ogle them from time to time. So if that's not your thing, that's okay. but just warning you now. But back to the review. Again, I thought this was a fun opener. It did what it needed to. And according to reports, I believe Los Lotharios are probably moving to main roster within the next month or two or so. If what I've heard, plans for them to join Santos Escobar up on SmackDown to be a part of his new faction, which would be a lot of fun. But who knows, we'll see with that. So then the questions keep going because we go backstage and Nathan Frazier and Axiom are talking about different things. And then they get stuck on the conversation about, like, listen, Baron Corbin may suck as a person, but he has this expensive lifestyle. And the casual conversation was, you know what? I want to have all this money. I want to do all these things too. And the connection of how we get to our match later, because then Ilya walks in and hears Nathan Frazier talking about this. And then Ilya walked in as if Nathan Frazier, like, talked about his family and his wife or something like that. I was just like, what is happening? Because Ilya gets mad at Nathan and Nathan's like, bro, you need to chill. And then Ilya's like, fight me. And Nathan's like, all right, I'll fight you later tonight. And Ilya's like, I'm gonna beat your butt. And then that's how that whole backstage segment went. I'm like, how did we get here, NXT? Like, the escalation and the rising action to what we got for the match was really quick.
It was. There was no build-up whatsoever. It was literally like, and go. I was just like, wait, what? Wait, what just happened? Because, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, and it was like this particular Ilya, I'm not familiar with. Like, I'm not familiar with this one at all. And I don't know where it came from. I mean, I don't think Nathan Frazier was saying anything that was so inflammatory to really kind of warrant that. You know? I mean, you know, and I love, you know me, I love me some Dragunov. I love Ilya. I love him. But I was just like, I was kind of like, Ilya, I think you're a little out of line here, buddy. I was like, and so I was a little confused. I was genuinely a little confused as to why that escalated so fast. I mean, truly, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't get it. I actually had to watch it twice. I went back and watched it again because, like, maybe I missed something.
Right?
And I was like, no. I mean, literally, I was like, what did Nathan say that I missed? I obviously missed something that Nathan said that would spark Ilya to go off. And I mean, even from a storytelling point of view, from a theatrical standpoint, nothing was said that would cause such a reaction. Things that were said was sort of like, you know, whatever. And you just sort of like roll it off your back. But I mean, he came in there like literally like he's like Nathan slapped his mama. I was just like, I'm like, Ilya, he didn't really say anything bad, man. I mean, yeah, he was running his mouth, but nothing to kind of warrant that reaction. At least I didn't think so. It was really weird. It was really weird.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. And this is where I point out something. This has been my critique with NXT over the last like 6 months or so. Is that when we're building to the pay-per-views, because we have about 2 months between each pay-per-view, so that should be a good enough time to build a lengthy feud. NXT's biggest problem for me, and I'm kind of starting to see it, and I'm not necessarily over it, but I'm starting to get a little perturbed in the sense that obviously you don't want the champion and the challenger touching each other before we get to the pay-per-view. So obviously you need to still book both of them strong and have them pick up some wins. However, I don't think picking up wins should equate to like just really fast be like, this is why I'm mad at you, now we gonna fight, and that's it. So if they had integrated stuff like maybe there was something said on the internet and then it turned into what we saw on television, be like, hey, I saw what you tweeted, man, it's not cool. And then they talked about said tweet, and then you get the match, because what happened on social media was the inciting incident, and then on television you can use that as the rising action. What happened here was you threw the inciting incident and the rising action in the span of like 2 minutes. So the narrative whiplash is what I was like, what is happening here? But I don't know. Ultimately, this sets up Nathan versus Ilya later in the night, so we'll talk about that match when we get to it. Because then from here, our final WWE legend, Jerry the King Lawler, picks the final 2 matches for the Iron Survivor qualifiers. For the men, it is going to be Braun Breaker versus Eddie Thorpe. And for the women, it's going to be Kelani Jordan versus Kiana James. So I was really pumped, when these announcements got made, because I was like, oh, this is going to be great. One match was a lot of fun. Another match was also fun, but there's also a lot of things that we're going to need to talk about, because me and Will were having a conversation earlier today about it. And this is the first time we're going to fight. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be fun. So after this announcement, we jump straight into, arrows. Never mind. So we start getting Kalani's entrance, but then we have like 2 backstage segments before we get to the actual match. So we're going to go in order from there. So backstage, we see Cowboy Strong is what I'm calling them. We have, Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and Fallon Henley chilling backstage. And, they're hyping Josh up since he's in the Iron Survivor Challenge. And then randomly, Lexus King just pops into frame. And then now all of a sudden, they have beef with each other. So that was weird. Ultimately, this sets up a match between Briggs and Lexus later in the night for some reason. Sure, fine, whatever. And the other thing is that I was excited because we got an update that Miss Nikita Lyons will be coming back from injury really soon. And I was just like, yes. I love me my thick queen. Give me Nikita Lyons back so bad. I love her so much. Now, Nikita, we've had this conversation before. Hopefully the ring gear has improved, because what we were wearing before did not pass as ring gear. I was like, girl, it's being held on by desperation and literally clip-on straps. It was out there. But I'm excited to see Nikita back, especially we need our mixed martial artist wrestlers coming back soon. Can't wait. So now we can get into the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match. Kelani Jordan versus Kiana James. This was a really good match. You are muted. I was trying to non-verbally say it. What did you do? Alright, hold on. Let me pause real quick. I think we were smited by the wrestling gods for a little bit. I don't know why. We haven't talked anything bad yet, you guys. Come on. I don't know.
All right.
We were just to talk about how much we actually liked this match. Well, I did at least.
I did too.
This was a really good match. I was
saying this was like my close first for match of the night. I actually have 2 that are kind of neck and neck.
Me and you might be on the same page, because this was also at the top of my list for the night as well. But Kiana James is continuing to impress me, and following her from last year to this year has been great. I don't know, man. Kavani's kind of killing it, and she's climbing up that ladder really, really fast too. And every match that she gets thrown in, she just impresses me more and more. I'm gonna be honest. I thought Kiana was gonna pick up the victory, and then all of a sudden I hear the bell ring. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, who is? And then I see Roxanne. I'm like, oh, okay. Kalani's gonna win, and then these girls are gonna hash it out. I'm like, continuity, kids. Listen, we love to see continuity, because they've been fighting since September, and they're continuing to fight each other. So this is gonna be great. But Roxanne Perez distracts Kiana by ringing the bell in the timekeeper area, which allows Kalani to, hit what she needs to hit her moonsault finisher for the win. And Kalani Jordan earns her spot in the Iron Survivor Challenge. And so she joins the ranks of Lash legend Tiffany Stratton. And what am I forgetting? There's so many. What am I forgetting? What the?
No, there's so many. I can't even keep them straight.
I'm just like, I mean,
just saying.
I'm trying to think. Hold up. Oh, duh. How did I forget? Blair. Hello.
Oh, crap.
And you know what? NXT fixed the problem that we talked about last week after Blair won. I'm like, all of these the three of them that we had before Kalani won, I'm like, these are all heels. I was like, are we going to have any faces in this match? And sure enough, we have Kalani Jordan. She is our sole face for now. And so I was like, ooh, we need to get another face in here because Kalani's going to get beat up. She's going to get beat up. And,
I know.
So far with the 4 women that we have for the Iron Survivor Women's Challenge, I'm like, this is an interesting group of, individuals that we picked. Because Blair and Lash are your big powerhouses.
Right.
Tiffany is, Tiffany. She's a former champion. And then Kalani is the newbie so far of the group. So I love the result. I don't care that there was some shenanigans that got us to it, but I think Kalani was the right choice to, go into the Iron Survivor Women's Challenge at Deadline.
Agreed.
This match was awesome.
It was so good. I was like, and I actually thought it went pretty decent lengthwise, So yeah, this one was like, when this one happened, I was like, yes, now we're where we need to be. All right, here we go.
Agreed. So I'm going to wrap this next segment up into like all 3 at once because over the course of the evening, we got different segments that were showcasing the individuals that were taking part in the main event for the Fatal 4-Way to face Dominic Mysterio at Deadline for the NXT North American Championship. So I'm just going to wrap this up because we got Cameron Grimes, Bronson Reed, and we got Johnny Gargano. So each of them got a little segment and they talked about their reign as NXT champions. I love Bronson. He's a big beefy boy. We gotta support the beefy boys up in this household. And Johnny Gargano can do no wrong in my eyes, but then of course Cameron Grimes is my homie. I was rooting for him so hard, and I cried when he finally won the NXT North American Championship in that ladder match at Stand and Deliver 2 years ago. I'm like, to the moon. Like, my country bumpkin billionaire character. I love him so much.
Yeah, they were fun. I didn't know any of them. So
I was going to say, this is your real first introduction to some past NXT North American champions.
Yeah, so I had to go look them up. Like I do. I do my due diligence. So I know a little bit about them. So I was like, okay. All right. Because I didn't know. I saw the card that you sent me, or the link that had the cards attached to it. And I was like, who are those guys? Let me go look them up. And then you sent me the actual list of the people on the card, and I was like, oh, perfect. Now I don't have to look up names randomly. So I was like, so then I went in and I looked, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know anything about, I knew that they were all NXT champions. I knew that. But I didn't know anything else about them. And I was like, so these little snippets of them actually helped me a little bit. And I was like, okay, help me get to know them a little bit more, because, what you read is different than what actually is the case. And in reading, and what I read not that it didn't match what the actual people were like, but it was like seeing them in their actual ring was like, okay, cool. Now I kind of got a feel for them now. Okay. And yeah, what is it? Johnny Gargano or Gargano? Is it Gargano?
Gargano,
Gargano. Yeah, he was great. I liked him a lot. I like the little. Oh, we'll get there to it, but we're not there yet. But because I was ready to start talking about the match. I was like, oh, so this one time I was like, oh no, well, okay, we'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah, I really liked him. I liked him. I really did.
Johnny still has one of my favorite entrance gear ever. He came out like with plastered in a coat just full of Marvel characters just for no reason. I was just like, you are instantly my favorite. I was like, you are a nerd and I love you.
I do. I love that too. Yeah.
I love when my wrestlers and my pop culture nerds collide. It's great.
So I went and did some research while, yeah.
We love it. Speaking of things colliding, Alpha Academy is backstage and they want to collide with Metaphor because they're tired of the shenanigans. And so I got really excited when I heard the proposal, and I got even more excited when Metaphor did their thing later that evening. But Alpha Academy in this backstage segment is challenging Metaphor to a mixed tag team match 3-on-3 for next week in NXT. I'm just like, yes. Give it to me. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know which three well, obviously Maxine for Alpha Academy is going to be in regardless because she's the only female for Alpha Academy. But then the possibility of the other two, whether it's going to be Chad, Otis, or Akira Tozawa, I'm just like, I don't care. Any combination of those three, I'm like, I am perfectly here for.
Yeah. I think I honestly believe that no matter what combination you put in the ring, it's going to be hilarious. I mean, it's going to be hilarious. I'm so here excited for it. I can't. Me too. The minute Alpha Academy came on, it was like, I was like, oh, what is this? You know, and then they did the challenge, and I was just like, oh my god, that's gonna be so much fun. Oh my god! And then we get to the segment with Metaphor later, and I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be so much fun. I love when they do fun matches. I love it. These matches are so silly that you just love them. It's just so much fun. There's so much because the great thing about Alpha Academy and Metaphor is they have such colorful characters in both groups, and they're more alike than I think they want to admit that they are. But it's going to be so fun to like put them in a ring together and see what mayhem happens, because it's going to be crazy. And I can't wait.
The craziness is going to be amazing. But going from there, speaking of crazy things, we get like a different perspective camera footage thing of like who attacked Trick Williams, and like it looks like Lexus King attacked Trick. I was like, this is too easy. I was like, I smell doctor footage. I seen someone dressed up in. Listen, it's not that hard to dress up as a badly cosplayed Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses, you guys. It's not that
exactly
hard.
Not at all. The right wig and a tacky coat, you got it.
I'm like, listen, me and Will are halfway there with our Lexus King inspired bandanas. Like, it's not that hard.
No. I could put a long, crazy, weird, blondish brown wig on, dye his damn roots, and a tacky leather jacket, and then attack, someone with the camera to my back. I'm like, come on.
And this was my only critique of this whole entire segment is that commentary did a horrible job. Normally I love Vic and Booker, but these two overplayed the hand a little bit. Be like, well, that's it then. We have our suspect. And he's like, nah, that's not it. I was like, Booker, I love you. Vic, I love you. But I was just like, this is too easy, you guys. Yeah. You cannot be this, not even dumb. You can't be this naive. Nothing is ever as it seems in professional wrestling. But you know way. But you know what, though? I think this did not go the way that Carmelo wanted it to, because when we get to their backstage segment later, it did not go the way that he was expecting. And I'm here for Trick Williams kind of unwittingly being defiant to the plan, which We'll get to there in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Damn it, I want to talk about it. I'm like, no, okay, fine. We'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah.
We got some fun stuff to talk about though, because next we got the thing I wanted, and then from last week's episode, because I was like, I hope it comes to find out that he embezzled funds for Chase U, because we get the Chase U press conference next.
Oh my god, this was so funny.
So before we talk about like the whole entire segment, just from everybody's looks alone, Andre Chase and Duke Hudson and the Chase U stuff, Thea Hale being the supportive like person to Andre Chase. Meanwhile, JCJ is dressed in all black, looking like somebody died at a funeral. Like she's mourning the loss of Chase U. She looked so depressed, and I was here for it. I was like, girl is acted up, and I loved it so much.
Yep.
And that was just like the first 5 seconds.
I know. That's what was so great about it. I know they all came in there and she did. All she needed was a black veil. I was just like, what is she doing? I'm loving it. Whatever it is, I'm loving it. Because she was just like dark sunglasses. It was like, and
I was like, girl, what are we mourning? Who's in mourning? Like, who died? Like, what happened? And then we get the actual press conference, and I was just like, oh, this might be my favorite segment of the year so far, because Andre Chase is literally pulled like I did not have relations with that woman.
That woman? Yep.
I was like, Andre Chase admitted, he's like, I have used Chase U funds for gambling and embezzlement. I was like, yes! Yep. I was like, that's what I wanted when we talked about like what kind of things they did last week. And as I love that as Andre Chase kept speaking and answering questions, I'm looking at the other three. Thea looked really disappointed. Duke looked like a confused golden retriever.
He looked crushed. He looked crushed. He was back there just like. And I was like, oh, dude, you poor pretty man.
I was like, you big golden retriever himbo, you.
Oh my god, it was so funny.
And then again, all JC needed to do is just start crying uncontrollably. It's like, the baby!
Like throwing herself across the coffin,
It's like, not my baby!
Yeah. Yep. Oh my god, it was so good. It was the best moment of the night. It was the total highlight of the evening. It was and I agree, and I haven't been here for a whole year, but it is literally my most favorite backstage moment ever. It was like a congressional thing. He was like up there like a freaking congressman admitting all these horrible things. And it was so funny. Oh my, like his, how they do when the politician's up there and he has his family around him trying to look all, wholesome and everything. And it was so funny. I was like, like Duke's his wife, and
honestly,
he is her kid,
honestly, okay, so if we break down like the presidential family that is Chase U, obviously Andre Chase is the president, Duke Hudson's definitely the wife.
Oh yeah.
Thea Hale is the youngest daughter, and I want to put JC as either the oldest or she's like the aunt that's living with them too.
She's the oldest daughter. The oldest daughter's always the one in trouble. Always.
She's like, I warned you. JC is also like, I warned you, but you didn't listen to me. And she been new. She been new.
Mm-hmm. Well, the funny thing is, she saw what was on
she
that
saw the
paper.
Papers, yeah.
So she knew what was going on, and I was like, ooh. And I love that she's kind of gone with it. That's this is what I'm thinking, and this is probably one of my favorite, like, not transition is the wrong word. Sort of, God, what is the word I'm looking for? It's sort of like, not transition, but basically like, JC coming into this and kind of forming this new bond. And you remember how we were like, God, I really hope this isn't just a one-shot thing and it stays. And I love how it has just kept going. And she didn't go like, deuces. She didn't like, oop, deuces, y'all done, bye. It's like she was trying to destroy them from the inside or something.
So okay, so like, and this is the cool thing. So with both Thea and JC's characters, because initially when this all started, when JC and Thea were hanging out, like I had said, I was just like, oh, are they gonna turn heel, or like are they going to like leave JC and become bad girls? I was like, I was here for it, but then whoever is writing this particular storyline for this 4 little faction of individuals for Chase U and everything, I think is paying attention to what the audience wants and also what narratively makes the best sense.
Yep.
And honestly, the MVP for me personally has been JC, only because from where she started in this story, you know, coming off of the breakup of Toxic Attraction, she and Gigi just had finished their big feud that they were doing for a couple of weeks that ended in a cage match. Gigi came out victorious in that match, but JC still looked strong. And so JC was just looking around and saw that Thea was struggling. And at first I was like, girl, I was like, we saw you what happened with Toxic Attraction. Y'all were the mean girls and you were beating girls up. So I was just like, oh, don't be picking on my little Thea because I'll be hurting you. But then her character progressed and she's still kind of a little bit of a turd. But like she's a lovable turd, if that makes sense. The writers have changed her character enough where she's still a in-between character where she could go face or heel, but she's leaning towards more the face side because, again, I agree with you. She saw those papers that were in the envelope, and instead of like spilling the beans, she didn't say anything because it wasn't her business to tell because it's Andre Chase's business. She even got involved when she was the getaway driver because she pulled through the crowd when the mob and the paparazzi were swarming Andre Chase a couple weeks ago, and she's like, get in the car, man, we gotta go now. And then she stood with Chase U as this whole entire press conference was happening. She's like, technically I'm not even supposed to be here, I'm not really enrolled in the school, but these 3 are mine, and through thick and thin I'm gonna be here to support them. I'm gonna be the emotional support bra that they need.
It's been, and I was so happy that, because I thought this was going to be the end of it. I thought it was going to be like, ha ha ha, got you, and then like she'd be like, deuces, you know, and then, but no, she didn't. She stuck in there, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, because I was really afraid that when it all came out that she was going to be involved somehow, you know, or something like that, and I'm so glad they didn't go that route. I'm so glad that, you know, because JC, if you think about it, if we talk about it in like comic book terms or that sort of terms, she's like the anti-hero. She's like the Catwoman, you know. It's like go either way, you know. She's like, I'm not gonna kill anybody, but I'm gonna steal their shit, you know. It's like, so I mean, you know, I'll be your friend, but I'm gonna take your crap while I am your friend.
It's like I'm your friend, but in exchange I want your lunch money.
Exactly. So yeah, I love this. I love this whole arc. I love this from the moment the 2 of them met to the wonderful sort of JC taking Thea under her wing and like going, girl, you have so much potential. Let's get it out. And then she redressed, and then she's got her new theme song, and which is kicking, by the way. And it's just like, gosh, how much growth this is. And, you know, and it's so funny because like Chase U, I know they're, you know, and honestly and truly, Chase U is sort of like tertiary, you know, it's like, who cares? Now it's like, I fucking care. It's like, I don't know, they have brought them so much to the front. They won a tag team championship. I mean, yeah, they didn't hold it for very long, but they still won it. So now, you know, it's like they're like bringing them forward, and now they've got all this going on. So now they're kind of now we kind of look at them as sort of jaded a little bit, and so it's like, where are we going from here? That's my question. It's like, so where do we go from here? Where does Chase U go now?
Yeah, it seems that they had lost everything. So like I'm all for we have nothing, but now let's build ourselves back up. I talked about how I love the progression of JC throughout this whole entire thing to be like MVP for me in terms of character development. Thea too, Andre Chase. I'm hoping that this next chapter we get to see some character development from Duke as he has to deal with the ramifications. Again, he is the trope of the lovable idiot. Like, he is so oblivious to like the gravity of how serious the situation is, but it made my heart hurt when I saw him give me the puppy dog eyes. Like, he was legit broke. He was sad, and Thea's like just trying to support him as best as she could.
Yeah, you're right. And
I was like, if anyone hurts Duke Hudson, we're gonna fight, because that's my himbo. We gotta protect him at all costs.
I agree. And then JC's like, one tissue away from the grieving widow. It's like,
gosh, it was so dramatic, but I live for the campiness of this. It was, my goodness. This was the funnest segment of the night. And I'm kind of glad that I had so much fun with it, and I was at a high point at this point, because we gotta talk about this next match, because the match itself was really good. There's a lot of implications that we were talking about offline where we need to talk about. So we have our second Iron Survivor Challenge qualifying match, this time for the men, and it is Braun Breaker, who once again, whoever is tanning him needs to be fired, because we are on the verge of blackface. I'm like, Braun Breaker, I love you, but somebody needs to be fired or talked to, because we are almost on the verge of black or brown face, whatever you want to call it at this point. I was like, the next thing I'm waiting is somebody to start, saying gyrating and some very terms that we don't want to bring back in 2023. Like,
no. Yeah, he needs to tone down his bronzer, man.
I was like, your name is Braun Breaker, not Braun Bronzer. Like, calm down.
Yeah, like Bronze Breaker. I was like, what I'm just like...
God. Until he fixes the problem, we are calling him Bronze Breaker.
Bronze Breaker. There you go. Bronze Breaker.
Tanning problem.
Damn, he did. He stepped up. I was like, ooh, he's looking a little brown.
Sir, a former Cheeto Puff president that we had didn't look that bad.
Yeah,
I was like,
seriously.
bro. I was like, sir, it is 2023 and you look worse than Cheeto Man.
Oh, it was like, ooh.
I was like, ooh. I was excited for this match, and then of course, I don't care what nobody says. Like, Mama Luke Willow will tell you this if you ask her, but she walked in on me while I was watching this match. So Eddie's music was playing, and I got up and I was dancing with Eddie. I was just like, this is my shit. This is my dude. And then, me and her had a really fun conversation, because she noticed, the pendant and the earrings, and so she's like, oh, is Eddie Native American? So then we had a nice talk about it. She's like, all right, I already like him, he's cool. But we also noticed that Eddie was rocking the wrapped ribs, because he got beat up from Drew Gulak and crew last week. The match itself was actually really fun. I liked this.
It was a really good match.
This is what I wanted to see, Braun and Eddie being vicious to each other. I was just like, yes, give it to me. I was disappointed disappointed in the ending, but
Me too. And it's so funny, because I think since I've known him, I think this match showcased his talents more than any of the other ones did.
Oh, I 100% agree, because this was more pure wrestling than gimmick.
Yeah, and it was like, so I was good with the matchup. I was like, oh, this is good. This is a really good matchup, I think, because, Braun Breakers, he's all about, just the win. He doesn't care about anything else. He's just the win, and he's going to do whatever he can to get there. And, and I was like, okay, because at first I was like, ooh, Eddie against Braun Breaker, we just went up against, his whole thing with, oh my God, why did my brain just leave me? Oh my God, you literally just talked about him.
With Charlie Dempsey and crew.
Yeah, I mean, it was, thank you. I was like, God bless America. And I was like, Braun Breaker's vicious, which is great. And I was just like, oh man, he just came out of a vicious match, and he had another one, but he had another vicious match prior to that. And I'm just like, good Lord, can this guy catch a break? But then I was like, wow. I mean, because this is the first time I've actually seen Eddie Thorpe wrestle. Like, full on, no, like I'm in this to, it's a vengeance thing or a rivalry thing. It's literally just two wrestlers been thrown in the ring, wrestle. And it was good. It was good. I was like, wow. Yeah, I agree with you. The ending made me sad and a little angry, as you well know from our text messages. But yeah, overall, I thought this match was pretty good. And again, that is no reflection on the wrestlers themselves. I want everybody to know anything I say from now till the end of this is no reflection on the wrestlers themselves at all. Because I think both of them are great wrestlers and they both fought well in this match. But, anyway, my beef was with other people.
So, honestly, this was also at the top of my list for my favorite matches because I think for both of us, and you hit on this, and I agree with you, that this is probably the most wrestling, as I put in air quotes, that we've seen Eddie within the last couple of months, because I think Braun is probably in the same wheelhouse in the type of wrestler that Eddie is, where it's more focused on power but also agility and things like that, where as Eddie was paired with Dijak, it was more so literally Eddie trying to chop down the big tall man that was Dijak. And that was more gimmicky because we talked about it, because we had a strap match that ended that chapter of the feud, and this was just pure wrestling. Again, I was a little sour because I was like, no, I want Eddie to win, man, but man, Braun Breaker had to earn that victory, and I had to.
He did.
Eddie gave it to him, and Eddie also had to fight for it too because Braun wasn't letting up. And I was like, see, if this is the version of Braun Breaker that you give me every single week, NXT, outside of the storytelling and his character, like, I could get behind this Braun Breaker 100% all the time. Like, just give this to me. Just let him be, you know what? I'm a wrestler. I'm going to kick everybody's ass in the ring and then call it a day. Yeah. I was like, this is what I need.
Exactly.
So,
this is...
Yeah.
I love this Braun Breaker. Probably more than I've liked him in the past. Because you got those tropes out there, and the arrogant wrestler is just like kind of overplayed. It's like, oh, I'm the best there is, and nobody can beat me. I'm here for one reason, and that's to beat everybody. Okay, that's cool, but this Breaker's different. He still got that arrogance about him. No, you know what? I'm not even going to call it arrogance. I'm going to say confidence. This is a confident Braun Breaker, not an arrogant Braun Breaker. And I like this Braun Breaker better. Bronze Breaker. I like this one better than the one prior. Because remember, I've always been like, you got to give me something to hold on to, or I just don't care about you. And I kind of care now. I kind of was like, even though I did want it to go the other way, I'm not unhappy that he won, like as in from a wrestling standpoint. I'm not unhappy about that at all. I think that because I agree with you. I think they both fought their hearts out, and they had to. Braun, he had to earn that win, I believe. And if he doesn't believe that, then well, he's full of shit. But he knows he had to earn that win. He didn't. I think he thought that this was going to be an easy match, and then Eddie came in fighting. And I think Braun was like, "Oh crap! Okay, I underestimated you." And so I think, this was up there with the Kalani and
Kiana, man.
Kiana, God bless America. I'm having crazy name issues tonight. Literally, it's like blank. It's like when I was texting you earlier, and I was like, what was it, Ilya? And I said Tyler. And it's because I was talking to my student Tyler, and I was like, Tyler, and I was like, you're like, you mean Nathan? I was like, oh, God bless America. Yes, Nathan. I was talking to my student. And I was like, oh God. So yeah, names have been all over the damn place today. So. But anyway, I thought this was a really good match. I thought these two men, they fought their hearts out. And again, I wish it had gone the other way, but I understand why it had to go this way. And so I don't fault Bronze for that at all.
Nope. And with Bronze Breaker, until he fixes his tanning issue, Bronze Breaker joins Trick Williams and the other men inside Dijak, Trick, and oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. Again, names are just like escaping me. So Trick. You know what? I have my notes here. But essentially, what happens here now is, Trick, Dijak. Honestly, this men's field is looking really, really fun. And honestly, again, while I wanted Eddie to win, Bronze Breaker picks it up, and I can't fault him for it, and I think he's going to be an interesting addition. But speaking of Trick Williams, okay. So this is one of the segments I want to talk about, because we're backstage, because Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes were watching this match, and Carmelo and Trick begin to talk. They're like, okay, so let's just get into this, because this did not go the way that Carmelo wanted. So Trick and Carmelo were watching Braun and Eddie's match in the back, and so they get to talking, and I have to say, I'm really proud of our baby boy Trick, man.
Me too.
Because they were talking about how Lexus got stuck his nose in their business, and the video showed what appears to be Lexus King attack Trick Williams. And so Carmelo's like, yo, we got to get even. We got to go jump him. And Trick's like, but you know what? I have this Iron Survivor match at Deadline in 2 weeks, and that's got to be my main focus. And we can't be out here jumping people. Like, he gonna get his, but we got to focus on one thing at a time. We got to get through Deadline, and then we can go get ours. And that was not the response that Carmelo Hayes wanted to hear, and I was living for the drama.
Oh my God, it was so funny. And it's so hilarious because, we were talking off camera about it, but about how, this feels like a setup. And I think it's funny because Carmelo was so adamant about it too. He was like, yeah, man, he totally jumped you and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, you are really coming on strong, buddy. And for me, I'm like, you are not helping your case. You're not helping your case. I don't care what that video was showing. That could have been anybody. I mean, it really could have. Like you were saying, it's like anybody can put on a cheap knockoff, 80s hairband wig and a cheap leather jacket and pretend to be somebody. Because then when Carmelo was like, yeah, we're gonna do this, aren't we? And Trick's like, yeah, he's gonna get what he's gonna get, but, and I was like, oh. And Trick's like, I gotta focus on this thing and blah blah blah. And the look on Carmelo's face was priceless.
It was. But I want to highlight the most important thing that Trick said, because it's going to come back later when we talk about Alexis's match. Trick's just like, let's not stick our nose in his business. And it's just like, let's not get involved. And so Carmelo's like, all right, yo, I got to go take care of something. I'm going to be right back. No, that's later. Never mind. Yeah. So Trick tells Carmelo, it's like, we got out of that business of jumping people and getting even with them. We got to be better. I was just like, baby boy has grown up so fast.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, look at you.
But that's the important bit. Trick says we're above that now. We're not about to go jump. We're not about to go jump Lexus. We're not getting involved in other people's matches. I'm going to put a pin in that because we're going to come back and revisit that sentence later.
Yeah, we are.
So we're still in the backstage area, but this time we shift to the women's locker room. And Roxanne's talking about how it felt good to get even with Kiana, but it still sucks that she couldn't be in the Iron Survivor Challenge. And then randomly, we get news be like, oh, there's going to be a last chance match next week.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God, Ava, is that you? Where have you been, girl? I was like, Miss Ava is finally back on television. I'm like, where have you been the last couple weeks? It was like,
oh my God, so funny.
I had to do a double take. I'm like, I don't recognize you. She looks so normal.
So normal.
Well, she was cute. She was in overalls and everything. I was like, ooh, I'm kind of here for this look. But essentially, this sets up that the women are gonna have a last chance match, and then Kiana James jumps Roxanne, and there's a full girl fight in the locker room. All the women are fighting in the locker room. It's great. But that means that if that's true, that next week we're gonna get the 4 women that lost their matches, and to get one more chance. So that it's gonna be Fallon, Roxanne, Thea, and Kiana. So one of those 4 is gonna go on to Deadline, which means that if we're doing it for the women, that gives me hope, because then the men will also get a chance to qualify for the final spot. And honestly, I'm excited for those 4 women, but the men that are involved in the losers bracket, so to speak, is pretty stacked. Because you got Tyler Bate, Joe Coffey, Carmelo Hayes, and Eddie Thorpe. I was just like, just bury me underneath all of them. What? What? Honestly, though, these last chance matches are going to be great. So then we get into Ilya versus Nathan, which I thought the match itself was pretty decent. It was pretty good. Ilya was killing Nathan. I was like, don't break him. Don't break him. I like Nathan. Don't break him.
Don't break him.
I was like, Ilya was so aggressive, beyond what he needed to be. I'm like, sir, I need you to calm down. This is Nathan Frazier we're wrestling. He didn't say anything inherently wrong. Oh my gosh. But Ilya picked up the win here after brutalizing Nathan with a statement by doing a power bomb just because he could.
Yeah.
And then I thought he was returning to normal because he went to go shake Nathan's hand after the match.
Yes. I was like, look, there's our Ilya.
And then we were interrupted with Baron Corbin on the screen, basically, just doing his thing. And then they're going to come face to face next week before Deadline. I was just like, fine. I'm like, ugh. Moving on. Just kidding.
We probably could, because Baron Corbin annoys me even on video. It's funny, and I know we're getting all of this, and we'll get it again next week, I guarantee you, because they're just building the tension between the two of them. But I'm to the point where I'm like, just stop. We know it's going to be a good fight. We know it is. Just stop. Because, first of all, Baron Corbin talking on my TV is giving me a headache. The man gives me shingles with his voice alone. Good God. And I thought, well, it's recorded so they can, kind of doctor it a little bit maybe and make him look not quite so, stupid. No. It was as if he was standing right there with us. And I was just like, wow. You don't even transition to video well. What the hell, dude? And so I'm literally like, can we just get to the fight, let Ilya kick his ass, and move on? Because I'm sick and tired of it already. And this is one of those, and the thing about this is it's not even a rivalry. It's literally just Baron Corbin being a whiny bitch. Seriously. First of all, he talks a huge game, but he can't back that shit up. The matches that he has won have been against people that were generally lesser than him. So he's literally picking fights with the 90-pound weakling on the beach. because he knows he can win. And I'm just like, because I guarantee you, if Baron Corbin takes that title off of Ilya, that shit is rigged. That shit is like toxic as fuck, because no way does that piece of crap take that title off of Ilya. I'm sorry, but I mean, it's just the way I am literally, and you know me, I will go and go and go and go on Baron Corbin, because I'm just like, he needs to go away. Just needs to go away. He is, and this is just for me, all you Baron Corbin fangirls out there, don't come at me. I just think he's worthless. The character, not the human being. The character, I think, is worthless. Because he literally brings nothing to the table. Nothing. He wants to beat Ilya Dragunov so damn bad that he will sit there and dog on him and dog on him and dog on him and talk his arrogant bullshit till the cows come home. And it's like, you're not gonna be Ilya Dragunov, dude. Stop. Just stop before you embarrass yourself, which you already are. So that is my thing. If that man walks away from that with a title in his hands, I bullshit. I will call bullshit on that so fast. I mean, no. That is not, you better not. That's all I'm saying. I will write a strongly worded email to somebody.
And there you have it, folks.
I would literally send Baron Corbin hate mail. I would literally send it.
Oh my goodness. So we're gonna move on from that before Will has a blood vessel. So, we go backstage and we have this interview with Lyra Valkyria about what's next for her. And so she's focused on seeing who comes out the winner of the Iron Survivor Women's Challenge at Deadline. Fallon comes up and tells Lyra that she's gonna earn that final spot. And then randomly, like peeking from behind a corner, we have Tatum Paxley just be like, "Doesn't matter, Fallon, what you do." She's like, Lyra will always win. Like, she's an obsessed, like, this is Mariah Carey's Obsessed is playing like somewhere in the background. And Lyra's, Fallon cracked me up. She's like, "Girl, is she with you?" And Lyra's like, "No, girl." I was like, I have no idea what she's doing here. And then they both walk off to leave Tatum by herself. I was like, that was such a weird ending. I was like, what is this? Like,
I laughed the whole time.
Yeah, there was no real substance to this. Like, I thought we were going somewhere, and then it's talk about taking a left. I was like,
a hard left, not even a curved left. It was literally like, whoop.
No. It was like full stop, turn left. I was like, what is happening?
It was. I laughed the whole time. I don't even remember what Lyra and I didn't remember what they said.
Honestly, the only reason I remember is because I took notes, and then I was like, and then I like look at my notes. I'm like, randomly Tatum Paxley appears. I'm like,
yeah,
what? And I wrote next to it, like, WTF,
like half behind a curtain. I was just like, what is going on right now? She's like, don't believe it. La, 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 la. I was like,
girl,
what are you doing, girl?
I was like, calm down. So we go from here, and we get a little vignette that shows a little bit more of Carmen Petrovic, who is going to be in a match later this evening. And then we jump into what we were talking about before, Metaphor, are on the couch looking like rejects from the Spice Girls movies, which I love and appreciate. But essentially, they accept the challenge, and so next week, Alpha Academy and Metaphor are going to have this mixed tag team match, which, again, we already discussed how me and you are excited about it, because fun, campy matches is what we live for here in NXT.
Bless you.
Thank you. Then we get another unhinged Joe Gacy promo as he's underneath the ring now all of a sudden. I was just like, I don't know, Will. I was like, I'm falling for the crazy people, and I don't know what that says to me about a human being.
I am sexually attracted to crazy Joe Gacy. I am. I don't know what that says about me as a person. You're right. I have no idea. But
we'll talk about it because then it just went full unhinged. Well, actually, we don't have to wait long because this literally Joe Gacy makes an appearance in this next match, Ariana Grace versus Carmen Petrovic. Nothing really of substance here because, Carmen wants to just beat up Ariana. Ariana being mean girl to cheat to win, which is great. But then, first of all, let's talk about Joe Gacy because that's the important bit for me in this match. Joe Gacy, first of all, takes the ring bell for no reason. And then he's in the crowd towards the end of the match to ring it like a crazy person. And I'm like...
And he's all like...
Yeah, he's looking around and I was just like... I don't know. I'm like, my feelings are confused right now. I'm like, this is kind of cringe. But I also be like... I don't know, man. I was like...
There at the end, there were some stalkery vibes going on.
Yeah, I was just like...
Between him and Ariana Grande. I was just like... Grace, I'm sorry. And again, names tonight. Names.
Miss Ariana Grande latte.
Yeah, exactly. There was some like weird eyes going on there. I was like...
I caught that too! I was like, what is going on? I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
It felt like he was saying, to me, it felt like he was going, I did this for you. And I was like, ew. Because even she was like...
I forgot what movie it is. They're like, this is all for you.
Oh, yeah. What is that? Yeah, you're right.
If you could, anybody in the comments, let us know.
Yeah.
Like, it's slipping, but I'm just like, no. I was uncomfortable, and I think that's the whole point with this whole thing. We went from cult leader status, with Joe Gacy as the leader of Schism, to now just literally, I think he's, the Mariah Carey song Obsessed now, apparently. Who knows? There's a lot of that going around in NXT, and NXT needs to beef up security because it's going to be crazy.
Seriously. How did they not know he was underneath there?
It looked very hot down there, too. I'm just putting it out there. I was like, he was sweating in that video. I was just like, sorry.
But you know what? He has got some pretty eyes, man. The whole time he was under there, I was like, your eyes are so pretty.
Again, only in wrestling can you say he's kind of a stalker, but he's got some pretty eyes.
Seriously, it's like, God, it was like he was looking cute. I was like, what is going on with this? And I'm like, yeah, I get you're kind of a stalker, but you're kind of cute.
Listen, as long as it doesn't turn into a you situation on Netflix, then we're good. Like, oh my God. So it's like, as long as it doesn't turn into you, we should be okay.
That's fair.
So then we get a Wesley backstage interview that's just, he's talking about how he's preparing for the main event and he's going to kick all the butt, which I was like, you go, Wes. And that's essentially that. Mm-hmm. Then we get into Brooks Jensen versus Lexis King. Also another match that didn't really need to be here, if I'm being completely honest. But, I still thought it was a pretty good match. Technically, it looked like Brooks was on the verge of winning, and then Carmelo jumped in and interfered and did not listen to Trick. And I was just like, oh, Trick is not going to be happy when he talks to him next week. But he also made enemies with Josh as well, because Josh was out there supporting his homie. And because Carmelo interfered, that allowed Lexis to pick up the victory. And I'm just like, oh, Josh is going to throw you like a rag doll. Did you not learn your lesson when you two faced off in your qualifying match? I was like, Josh is going to come for you.
Uh-huh. It's so funny. And I don't understand this setup. I don't need this Lexis King Carmelo setup. I don't... And we were talking about this off camera, but the connections to them are thin. I get it because Lexis King kind of interfered in the one match, but something else is going on here, and I don't know what it is. I'm kind of intrigued.
I'm interested to see how we develop it, but yet Carmelo is not paying attention because he's making enemies. Because Josh is going to be mad. I'm pretty sure Trick is going to talk to him. And then him and Lexis King still have beef. So we got 3 individuals that are still involved. So Carmelo better watch his back because it's about to go down.
But I will say, the one thing I did like about this match is that Lexis King was getting his ass handed to him.
Right, which was nice to see. I was just like, because...
Like the whole match until Carmelo interfered. I mean, literally, I was like, Lexis was on the bottom the whole damn time. I'm like,
Yeah, Brooks was like getting the offense in, and I was like, oh, Lexis is having a hard time here. I was like, good. We need some opposition, some good back and forth. And honestly, it makes sense that the only reason Lexis won is because Carmelo interfered, which caused a distraction. But again, Carmelo is unintentionally making enemies, and he better be careful because he's going to have the whole locker room coming after him at some point. So then we get into our main event, which is a fatal 4-way, and basically it's like 2 layers of setup here. The winner's gonna go on to face Dominic Mysterio at Deadline for the NXT North American Championship, but the extra layer is that if Wesley does not win this fatal 4 match, so long as Dominic Mysterio is champion, he can no longer challenge for the NXT North American Championship. And we talked about this last week. It's a foregone conclusion. We're like, oh, Wes is definitely winning, because if he doesn't, then that makes no sense. This was my match of the night only because it had everything I wanted. It had good wrestling. It had fun in-ring character moments. It had the comedy bits. Bronson Reed being a good sport and hitting the giblets was hilarious. Yeah. The big man gets knocked down because he kicked him in the nuts.
And then it was like he hit a bitch with another bitch, and I was like, "Holy crap, that was beautiful!" It was so. Was it? Who was it? That was it? Who did it? Because remember, it was he grabbed one by the legs.
Johnny Gargano grabbed Cameron Grimes and hit him.
It hit him in the nuts, and I was like, hilarious. I was like, oh my god, that was so fun. This was a fun match.
This was such a fun match. It had everything. All 4 men got to do stuff. I was happy to see Wesley hit a cardiac kick for the finisher because I missed him doing that for his move. Cameron Grimes. Oh, I thought Johnny Gargano's ribcage or his sternum got crushed in because that stomp from Cameron Grimes was crazy. Johnny Gargano out here proving that he can wrestle with anybody, big or small. Bronson Reed is out here fighting. We got the best thing ever, which is 2 big men fighting each other randomly. Yeah. Listen, me and Evan, my co-host for Monday Night Raw, and the rest of us Biconic boys, when we see 2 big guys or 2 big wrestlers wrestle each other, it's just it's meat slapping on meat. It's a meat fest. There's a lot of beef in that ring. And I was just like, Bronson, I was just like, you're Pee-wee we deserve. And then Ivar, I was just like, I'm not normally into Viking ties, but I'm like, hey.
That's the one that had the hairy chest, right?
Yes.
Okay. The only issue I have is he shaves his stomach area.
You're just like, no!
And that's weird. It's just weird. Like, why? What?
We'll talk off camera. Yeah, we'll talk off camera. I'm going to give you more research to do on Ivar and the Viking Raiders because he's a big man. He can slap hard, but he is also an agile big man. He will jump off and he flips off the top rope too. And it's amazing to watch.
I love that.
It's so beautiful to watch. But essentially, Wesley picks up the victory here in a hard-earned victory. So now, and we get the little graphic at the end of this match too, that it's set Dominic versus Wes for the North American Championship at Deadline. I'm like, yes. I was like, Wes needs to win this one.
Which Dominic was not happy about.
No, which I actually like seeing. He's like, oh crap, I gotta go back to the drawing board and I gotta figure out what I gotta do to make sure that I keep this title. And I get the feeling that Mommy's going to make an appearance at Deadline. But I'm hoping that Wes will be able to better prepare for this time around and win. But we'll see what happens. So I was like, okay, this is a great main event. What a fun way to end the show. But no, then we go to the parking lot because how do we really end the show? we hear a commotion, and it turns out that Roxanne and Kiana James are fighting. Like the brawl that happened in the women's locker room has spilled out into the parking lot because these girls are fighting each other. And I had to give credit to Kiana James because she literally threw Roxanne on the top of a car. I was like, and she was ready to jump. She was getting ghetto with it. She was about to bash her in the hood of the car, and then security had to separate them. And then Roxanne jumped off the hood of the car to try to get to I love the fact that both of these women are tiny enough for the big security guards to like pull them apart easily, but they are wrestlers, so they'll fight through dudes. And this was a fun way to end the night. She's like, I'm gonna kill you. And that is how NXT goes off the air, with Roxanne and Kiana fighting in the parking lot on top of a car.
Oh my god, it was so funny.
Oh my goodness.
The deity of comedy is the liar.
Apparently Alexa liked it too.
Okay, that was funny. I don't know where that came from, but she was like, the deity of comedy is Thalia.
I loved it.
What?
All right. So before Alexa decides to give their 2 cents into all of this, let's wrap this up with the final rating. For this week's NXT, I'm going to give this like a solid 7.8 out of 10. I don't think anything was inherently wrong. Actually, I can bump it up to an 8. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will say my only big critique is that, again, there wasn't a lot of wrestling because we had a lot of backstage segments between wrestling matches, and I feel like if you even them out between matches and promos, like, it would have been fine. We got some developments of some fun storylines. The change in Ilya's character for like tonight was a little bit weird for me. But there was a lot of good stuff though, so I give this an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well. Because overall, I thought it was a pretty good episode, and barring the weirdness, which we're building to a pay-per-view, so we're gonna see weirdness. We know that. We know it. I think that the Ilya thing threw me off a little bit. I thought the Lexus King, fight was a little weird. Like I didn't think we needed it. Especially considering it didn't lead to anything other than Carmelo Hayes making a fool of himself. But I hate that, I just don't like, let's just put a match in there randomly so that we can make Carmelo look like an idiot. But, but overall, I enjoyed this episode really, really, really a lot, actually. I just was like, okay, this is pretty good. I wasn't sure what to expect, especially after the first fight, which was okay, a little lackluster. And I was like, oh, that's kind of the way it's going to go. But it was sort of up and downish through the night. But, there was some decent backstage stuff. The Chase U thing actually literally gave this rating an 8. Because originally it was like, 7, maybe 6.5, 7. But I was like, no, but Chase U, I was like, oh yeah, that whole thing was like icing on the cake. So yeah, I gave it a solid 8 out of 10. Not bad. Pretty good.
I love it. So, you want to be hit with some surprising news?
Sure. What's the surprising news?
Next week is the go home show, because deadline is literally next Saturday.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
I'm like, oh, listen. Me and you are going to be busy next weekend because we have NXT and we have Impact too as well.
I hate that they're on the same night.
I know.
I just really hate that.
But this is going to be a good test for you because this is your first. Listen, I already had multiple pay-per-view weekends be back-to-back as you have. Listen, if it's not apparent to the viewing audience, Will is my NXT review partner, but he is also my homie. And I'm like, what am I doing with all these pay-per-view reviews?
That's fair.
Oh my god. So Will has to be the one to talk me off the ledge, so to speak. It's just like, what am I doing? But that is going to bring an end to this week's Los Chicos Gordos. So when we come back next week, we will have the go home show. And for Deadline, and then we will also be making our predictions next week of who's going to win at Deadline. So this is going to be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like what we do here at the Biconics YouTube channel, make sure that you hit the bell notification, subscribe, and share the YouTube channel with anybody and everyone. If you want to get notifications on when these episodes go live, hit us up on all the social medias at bcwrestlepod. And make sure to tune into the Biconics Wrestling Podcast episode, because this weekend we're going to be recording our 2023 in review episode, where we're going to try to keep the peace. We're going to do an order debate. What am I talking about? We're going to fight. We're going to be yelling at each other. It's going to be chaotic. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time. But until next week, remember, from Will, myself, and the rest of the Biconics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, stay Biconic, beautiful bastards. We'll see you for the next review, but until then, ta-ta for now.